Hi, my name is Sydney Strymer. I'm a physical education teacher, and I was just wondering where you see the future of physical education. I'm very grateful to be working at a school that has a program in place for kindergarten through 12th grade, but I know that some schools with budget cuts don't have a program.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the work you're doing in your school to make sure physical activity is still a part of the experience that children have. I'm worried about the experience that kids have with physical activity right now because many schools have cut physical activity. Many kids live in neighborhoods which don't have green spaces and parks. Many kids live in neighborhoods that aren't safe to wander out in and to walk around or simply play. And the other thing that, that we have realized is that there are many children, and girls in particular, who are not brought up with basic physical activity skills, what we think of as physical literacy, which then ends up closing down opportunities for them to engage in sports or other types of activity later on. Some simple examples I'll give you, like throwing a ball. I have so many friends who are women who have told me that they can't throw because they have bad hand-eye coordination. I think maybe sometimes that's true, but I think a lot of times that's a narrative that people bought into and were told when they were very young because they weren't given opportunities to actually learn how to throw and how to develop some of those skills. And for the rest of their life, whenever an opportunity came up to play basketball or tennis, they said, no, I can't do that because I have bad hand-eye coordination. Whenever an opportunity came up to just go out and just play with their friends, they didn't toss the ball around because they felt they had bad hand-eye coordination. And I'm not talking about theoretical examples. I'm talking actually about my wife, Alice, who actually has said all of these things to me over time. But I'll tell you that when Alice and I started dating, we used to do this thing where, I have this compulsion to just like throw things when I'm thinking, not at people to hurt them, just to be clear, but just to throw a ball, a tennis ball back and forth or something. And Alice and I, we would, do that with each other. But initially, when I would do it, she was sort of scared, of the ball. And she would say, no, I can't do that. But then over time, she started, just playing along, and she would catch the ball. And within a year or two, I noticed once that I would sometimes if I was just chatting with her, I would suddenly just like fling the ball toward her, and she would catch it with one hand. That's pretty impressive for somebody who just like a year or two before told me that she couldn't do anything with a ball because she had bad hand-eye coordination. And what's interesting to me is that I do this in my office as well. And I just toss, a ball around whenever we're thinking with the folks in our office. And I've noticed that many of the folks who said that they had bad hand-eye coordination and they couldn't throw a ball, they're now also catching one-handed. It's actually very impressive and interesting to see. So I think that what we need to do if we want to ensure that our children have a foundation for physical activity is I do think very early in life, including before, frankly, they enroll in elementary school, we have to have ways to expose them to some of these basic activities like throwing, kicking, hopping. And there's a report that actually I talked about last year here on kids in sports, which talked about physical literacy and about some of the basic skills that all children should have that will then enable them to participate in sports or a range of activities later in life. So we have to expose kids to that. We have to protect physical activity in our schools. And part of that is helping school administrators and also our legislators understand that physical activity in schools is not a luxury. It's not something that's just nice to do and it's just fun time for kids. It's an incredibly important part of their development and their health. And we know that if you're a teacher who's worried about behavioral disturbances in your classroom, that when kids actually have opportunities to be physically active, their behavioral disturbances actually go down, both in school and at home. So these are some of the steps that we have to take, and that's why, like in this job, part of what I have done is to try to spend time going to schools which are doing a good job at that, but also go to communities which are having a tough time with physical activity and help build this in to our priorities when it comes to education and to health overall.
Who else? Oh, lots in front. Why don't we go right here first?